Imagine a child learning how to walk. They take a few uncertain steps, then fall. They cry, they feel pain, and after a while, they stand up and try again. No one looks at that child and thinks, they must be sick because they felt sad. We understand that pain is part of learning. Falling hurts. Failing feels frustrating. But neither one automatically means that something is wrong. Strangely, as we grow older, we begin to forget this. Today, almost any sadness can feel like a problem that must disappear as quickly as possible. And that leads to an important question. Is every form of sadness depression? No, it isn't. But the difference between sadness and depression is more important than it may seem, because confusing one with the other can cause real harm. And near the end, we'll return to the question that may help us understand that difference more clearly. Psychiatrist Alan Francis has warned that modern society sometimes turns ordinary human experiences into medical diagnoses. Losing someone, failing at a project, receiving criticism, going through a breakup, feeling uncertain about the future. All of these experiences hurt, and sometimes they are supposed to hurt. Sadness is not automatically a defect in the brain. It is a human emotion. It can appear when we lose something, when reality disappoints us, when expectations collapse, or when life changes in a way we did not choose. The problem is that we live in a culture that often seems to tell us the opposite. Social media shows people smiling constantly. Advertisements suggest that happiness can be purchased. There is always another product, another trip, another phone, another video, promising to make us feel better. Without noticing it, we may begin to believe that being healthy means feeling happy all the time. But that has never been true. Philosopher Byung-Chul Han writes about a society in which people feel pressured to be productive, successful, and emotionally well at all times. We are expected to improve ourselves, optimize ourselves, stay motivated, keep producing, and somehow look happy while doing it. So when we can't maintain that image, we start believing there must be something wrong with us. But perhaps sadness is not always the problem. Perhaps the problem is the expectation that we should never be allowed to feel it. Something else happens when we fail. Imagine receiving a low grade at school. One possible question would be, what can I learn from this? But many people ask something very different. Does this mean I'm a failure? Or worse, have I disappointed everyone? Psychologist Carl Rogers described how people can move away from what they genuinely feel in order to become what others expect them to be. Instead of asking what matters to us, we begin asking what will earn approval. Instead of understanding our limits, we measure our worth through other people's reactions, and that can create enormous suffering, because a failed attempt becomes more than a failed attempt. It becomes evidence that we are not good enough. A criticism becomes more than feedback. It becomes proof that we are unworthy. A disappointment becomes more than a difficult moment. It becomes a judgment about who we are. There is another trap. Whenever discomfort appears, we often search for an immediate distraction. We pick up the phone, watch another video, buy something we didn't need, scroll for hours without realizing how much time has passed. For a few minutes, it may seem to work, but the feeling is still there. Distraction can offer temporary relief. It does not necessarily resolve what caused the discomfort. And this is where an important distinction must be made. Clinical depression is not simply ordinary sadness. A person experiencing depression may lose interest in activities they once enjoyed. They may feel intense exhaustion. They may struggle to get out of bed. They may experience excessive guilt or major changes in sleep, appetite, and concentration. Even simple tasks may begin to feel impossible. These symptoms often persist for weeks, interfere with daily life, and cause significant suffering. When that happens, An evaluation by a qualified mental health professional may be necessary. Confusing sadness with depression can be harmful, but treating depression as just sadness can be equally harmful. Both mistakes prevent people from receiving what they actually need. One person may need time, reflection, and support while moving through a painful life experience. Another may need professional evaluation and treatment. Those are not the same situation. Psychiatrist Viktor Frankl argued that suffering is part of human existence. Not every form of suffering can be removed, and not every form of suffering needs to be treated as an illness. Sometimes suffering must first be understood. Sadness can teach us. Failure can teach us. Frustration can teach us. Grief can reveal what mattered. Disappointment can expose unrealistic expectations. Pain can force us to recognize something we were avoiding. None of these experiences by themselves prove that a person has a disorder. So perhaps the most important question is not, how can I make sure I never feel sad again? Perhaps the better question is, what is this sadness trying to show me? Maybe it is showing you that something mattered. Maybe it is revealing that an expectation was unrealistic. Maybe it is asking you to slow down, to grieve, to change direction, to accept a limit, or to ask for help. And sometimes the answer may be that this is no longer an ordinary period of sadness. Sometimes the symptoms are persistent. They affect the body. They affect relationships. They affect work, study, and basic daily functioning. That is when sadness may be part of something that deserves professional attention. Remember the question from the beginning? Is every sadness depression? No, but that does not make sadness meaningless, and it does not make depression less serious. There is a major difference between living through a painful period and living with an illness called depression. The first can be part of life. The second requires understanding, support, and, in many cases, professional treatment. Knowing how to distinguish between them may be one of the most important emotional skills we can develop, because a healthy life is not a life without sadness. It is a life with enough space to feel, to understand, and to grow, without turning every difficult emotion into a disease, and without ignoring a disease when it is truly present. Sometimes the mind does not need to be silenced. It needs to be listened to more carefully, and learning how to listen may change the way we understand suffering altogether. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like so you can learn more about mental health.